Now it's time for today's perspective and an ultra-strict application of Sharia law, little or no schooling at all, and even sustained shutting down of the internet. Just some of the many problems continually faced by women and girls in Afghanistan as the country faces a brutal step backwards in terms of women's and girls' rights. Well, joining us here on the programme today is Mursal Sayas, an Afghan writer, journalist and founder of the association Women Beyond Borders. Thanks very much for joining us here on the programme today. It's been over 4 years now, hasn't it, since the Taliban took back control in Afghanistan. Tell us how life has changed for women and girls over that time.
Thank you for having me. Well, the situation is crystal clear. Every day it is getting worse and worse for women. More restrictions, more bans, more limitation on women and their access to every fundamental rights, from school to work to political participants to anything that depends to the women, that is being banned or restricted every day more and more and more.
It's difficult, isn't it? Because at the beginning there was a lot of hope that things really would change.
Well, it was the Western community that had hope, not us. In Afghanistan, we were disappointed, we were shattered, and when the Taliban took the power, because for us, it was clear what happened in the 1990s, so that will happen again. The pictures we were seeing in the Western media, that was like the clean Taliban, the proper behaving, they will let the women to go to school, to participate in the society. But that was not the reality of the Taliban, because in the past 20 years, no one made them accountable for whatever they did in Afghanistan, even the explosions, the bombing, nothing at all. For the first gender apartheid they applied in 1990s. So we were not hopeful at all, and we were not that naive to believe the Taliban has been changed out of nowhere suddenly. We were expecting this situation. We were expecting they will put more harsh law-based, as they said, Sharia law on women, because we know that every action by women that is against their law and against their Sharia law, just to express yourself, to talk, to be in the society, to participate in doesn't mean whatever action that is against the morality of the Taliban, and they punish women for that.
So what is daily life like for women in Afghanistan? I mean, how easy is it for people to move around, or can they not at all?
It is not easy at all. Every day when women wake up, they don't see a future in front of them. They don't see a day full of hope in front of them. They're just surviving. They're surviving this situation. When they wake up, I keep emphasizing to say this: if we imagine here, when we wake up, we have a plan for the day. But for women in Afghanistan, no, nothing at all. They have just to clean, wash, take care of the children, take care of the elder person, and also face the domestic violence at home that the Taliban system they created, and also they increased this violence at homes as well. So daily life, the women, if they have to go out, they go out with a lot of fear. They are afraid of everything, every movement, every action. They are just being surveyed and being monitored by the Taliban, even by the people outside in the streets. Maybe they will give the news to the Taliban, they will pass the information to the Taliban, and for them the life is harsh and it is really violent. And
yes, so what you're saying there is domestic violence has been normalised, I suppose, in the home.
More than normalizing, it is even the regime provoked the violence against women, the domestic violence. Every man in Afghanistan is supposed to protect the women, like making sure that she stays at home during the day. She doesn't wear improper clothes based on the Taliban law, like being covered fully, not go alone outside, not participate in the classes, not doing anything by all the meaning. So, of course, this pressure on men outside, this makes the domestic violence increase a lot, and also the statistics of suicides are increasing a lot, which the women are committing suicides inside. This is so sad and so unfortunate, and also the depression level and the anxiety among the women, it's increasing every day in another level.
You talked earlier on about it being a gradual process, the gradual chipping away and removal of rights. I mean, one of the latest things that's happened is the cutting of the internet, which has had a new severe restriction on women. What impact does that have?
Well, the internet was I was shocked when I heard the internet was cut off because I have never thought about this. I thought it's also for the good of the Taliban even. They are communicating with the international society outside with their alliances, so they will not cut off the internet. But then they did it for 3 days, and we saw the women, they completely lost their hope. It was the only window to the outside to be connected to the world and also to take some online classes, participate in some, just to have like a bridge to connect them with their friends, families, people they know outside, or to be in parallel with the world and see what is happening. And but with the cut off internet, that was a huge shock for women in Afghanistan. But at the same time, after that, they monitored and they filtered some of the social media and some of the platforms that women they cannot have access. What I think is because the regime is afraid of all this Gen Z movement. They are seeing all around the world how the young generation, they're resisting against the totalitarian regimes by the internet. And also the Afghanistan women, they use the internet platforms for advocacy, for connecting to each other, to create the protest groups. So this is why they're afraid and they banned it. But more recently, they also sent the order to Kabul University and the other universities, and they banned all the women books and manuals, the books and manuals that were written by women that shouldn't be taught in the universities. And they emphasized to the BBC exactly the same phrase: all the materials written by women is untouchable. So we see this as nothing just more than gender apartheid.
Yeah. As you said there, the internet was initially cut off for 3 days. It is back now, as far as we're aware at the moment. But I mean, presumably it could be cut again. I mean, do you see that happening?
Well, for the first time I was shocked, but it will not shock me the second time because, yes, they're capable of doing anything, everything, whenever they want. I think they now use the internet as a weapon to put pressure on the people and also on the international society to show, look, we are doing this and you cannot do anything. So I think, yes, they're using this now as a weapon to put more pressure.
And what can be done internationally to try and alleviate the situation? Is there anything that people outside of Afghanistan can do to try and help or put pressure, other governments putting pressure on the Taliban?
Well, to people and audiences who see us and hear us, I think it's so important to put pressure on their governments and to elect in the elections the one who are not close to the Taliban's mindset and mentality, and also any kind of relationship, normalization of relationship with the Taliban in political level, I think this is not something we want or we accept or we expect. And also, for me, increasing the bans and the restrictions on the Taliban and not recognize this regime as a regime, really, as a state, or as a government, and also include the women of Afghanistan, the civil society, in every negotiation and talks about Afghanistan and Afghanistan's future.
Mursal Sayas, thanks very much for coming in and talking to us here on France 24. Afghan writer, journalist and founder of the association Women Beyond Borders. Thanks very much once again.